Hi, this is Joy Robertson. As many of you know, I love food. I love finding new restaurants. I love trying new dishes. And most of all, I love talking to the many great restaurateurs and entrepreneurs we have here in the Ozarks and beyond. I love hearing their stories, and that's what this podcast is all about, learning more about them and their journey. So join me as we savor the Ozarks. This episode is brought to you by Arctic Food Equipment. Can I just start by saying I am one happy girl right now. I'm sitting in Mexican Villa on South Campbell with a spicy lime margarita, which is fantastic, and two different kinds of queso and house-made chips with Garin Ferguson, whose family started this Mexican Villa party, and this has been going on a very long time. So, hey, thank you for getting me all plied up for a good podcast here, because so far so good. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for having us on today.
I'm delighted to talk to you. I want to get into the history of this place. It was your grandfather that started the party?
That's correct. So my grandpa, he was an Army Air Corps pilot during World War II, and we flew B-29s, flew C-46s, C-47s, a lot of multi-engine stuff. And during his training, he was stationed in San Antonio, Texas for a while. And backing up a bit, he was born and raised in Springfield. Actually, I guess Anna, Illinois, moved here when he was 4, but basically here his entire life. And Mexican food was not on anybody's radar in the 30s and 40s in Springfield, Missouri. So he stationed in San Antonio during the war, and that's when he first tasted Mexican food. And I often describe him as kind of a foodie of the 40s. There's a whole culture today of foodies who, they blog and they do YouTube and whatnot, but he was kind of that guy of the 40s and 50s. And so he loved to cook, he loved to experiment, and when the war ended in 45, he initially he bought a fleet of Stearman's biplanes, converted them into crop dusters, and had a very thriving crop dusting business in the late 40s and early 50s. Actually, he did that all the way into the 60s. But in 1951, as many Springfieldians know, there was a restaurant right there at National and Bennett, still there today, called the Pig and Bun. And
barbecue joint.
Barbecue joint, absolutely. And that restaurant there goes back all the way to 1928. That is probably the second oldest restaurant in Springfield, if not the oldest. I know Pappy's has been there a long time, and Taylor's, of course, but that restaurant's been there since 28. So it was began as just a family restaurant in the 20s, and then the Depression hit. It changed hands numerous times, and at some point became the Pig Bun. Then it sold. It was the Pig Bun 2, sold again like the Pig Bun 3. Then a guy bought it called the Pig in Bun, and finally in 51, there had been, it was the Pig and Bun in 51, and there had been a fire back in the kitchen, I think. And my grandfather bought it in 51, did a remodel in the kitchen, and reopened it as the Pig and Bun. So that's kind of where the story begins.
That was sort of his initial foray into the restaurant business.
That's correct. Up until that point, he was just doing it out of his kitchen, and so and flying airplanes a lot. But so he begins in 51 at the Pig and Bun, and pretty quickly he thought, Mexican food was really good in San Antonio. I think Springfield is ready for it. So he started dabbling in it and trying his hand at it, and actually went back to San Antonio because during World War II he'd become friends with a gentleman in San Antonio named Mike, and Mike was originally from Mexico City. So Mike moved to Springfield in the early 50s, and my grandfather and Mike developed those recipes that we're still using today for the hot sauce, the mild sauce, the sweet sauce, the enchilada sauce. All those processes and recipes that we still, again, use today were developed by Mike and my grandfather back in the early 50s. So that's where the story begins. And about 1956 or so, they were building the Plaza Shopping Center over on Glenstone. And even though that was the edge of town, that's where progress. So that's where things were happening. A lot of commercial buildings going up over there. So he thought, I'm going to move over there and open up an exclusively Mexican restaurant instead of doing, because Pig and Bun was Mexican food alongside the barbecue. It was a 2-in-1 kind of deal. So 56, he moves over to Glenstone. And this is some other really interesting Springfield history. I didn't know exactly where the restaurant was he had on Glenstone. I knew that it was pretty close to where Jim's Steakhouse is today. In fact, I think it's pretty much right where Jim's Steakhouse is. It was pretty much across the street from the Cat and the Fiddle, which a lot of people remember the Cat and the Fiddle, and that was across the street on Glenstone there. And so he opened up a place called Old Mexico. And that was in a building there that had been a restaurant prior to Old Mexico called Lotus Garden. And the backstory on Lotus Garden, and I didn't know this until several years ago talking to the Leong brothers, but David's sons, David and Wing, I was talking to those guys, and they told me that their dad, David, and David's brother, G, who had G's East Wind out on East Sunshine, they had actually operated a restaurant there on Glenstone for a short time that was financed by a local doctor named Dr. Song, S-O-N-G. And he was well known in this area, and he had financed the restaurant, and David and G were operating a Oriental restaurant there for Dr. Song. That, I don't know, that went for a couple of years, and at some point it closed, but at that time it was for lease, so my grandpa leased that building there on Glenstone and moved over there to open up the Old Mexico. So I think at that point, actually, David and G. Leong moved to the Grove, which was a really well-known restaurant up on North Glenstone by Lily Tulip at that time. And the Grove was where they worked, and that might have been where they started making the cashew chicken. I'm not for sure on that, but I think that may be true. Anyway, so my grandpa, Hargrave Ferguson, opens the Old Mexico on Glenstone there, and thought it'd be a great place, and maybe it would have been 20 years later, but that was pretty much the edge of town, and he leased out the Pig and Bun, the building there at National Bennett, while he was doing Old Mexico to a guy named Tommy Lafino, and Lafino opened up a place called the Italian Villa at National and Bennett and operated there for several years until the early 60s.
So at that point, Springfield is starting to get international. At that point, they got Italian, they got Mexican.
Yeah, so there was obviously, you're starting to see some influx of other flavors and tastes from different parts of the world coming in with Mexican, Italian, and so on and so forth. So Lafino had the restaurant there at the Italian Villa at National and Bennett, and he was serving Italian food there. And in the early 60s, Lafino, I think he moved to a different location, but that building was going to be vacant again. My grandpa was on Sunshine, and as he put it, he was starving out there. So he said, well, I'm going to move back to National and Bennett. It's close to the college, high traffic area. So in 62, he moves back to National and Bennett, and being a thrifty Depression-era kid, he's outside looking at the building, and the neon sign was out there, Italian Villa. He counts the letters, and Italian is 7 letters. The word Mexican is 7 letters, and he's like, well, I can save half the sign. So, and Payne Sign Company had done that. So he just had Payne come out and replace the Italian with Mexican, save the bottom of the sign, and thus Mexican Villa was born in about 1962.
Are you impressed with the way I'm balancing sipping this margarita and eating queso while you do all the talking?
Well, it's multitasking. You're quite good at it, I must say. So.
Okay, I just want to make sure you noticed that. You mentioned your what was your grandfather's name again?
Hargrave Ferguson.
Hargrave Ferguson. That's an impressive name. Okay, so now he came back and he did crop dusting, correct?
Yes, that was, like I said, he was a pilot during World War II, so it was just natural for him to, and again, an entrepreneur, he bought those Stearman biplanes, which they had 2 seats in them, so he just took the front seat and converted that into a hopper for the chemicals for crop dusting. And I mean, he's probably paid next to nothing for those because they were surplus after the war. And he had at one time about a dozen Stearman biplanes that he crop dusted. So he had about half dozen, 7 or 8 pilots, and about a dozen planes, and they would dust a little bit around this area, but there wasn't a lot of agriculture. So they would fly south to Tunica, Mississippi, and he'd spend, roughly, probably half the year in Tunica with him and his pilots and his airplanes, and they would dust, all around Tunica, the Delta area down there. And while he was down there, my grandmother, Betty, she would run the restaurant. So she doesn't get a lot of the credit, but honestly, for many, many, many years at both the Pig and Bun and Old Mexico, she was an integral part of that business, keeping it alive while he was away, crop dusting and flying.
And now I read, I think it was on your website, that he would sort of buzz past the restaurant at National and Bennett to let her know it was time to come and pick him up at the airport?
Yes, so at that time he was based out of the downtown airport over on East Division, and so they didn't have lights at that time. So if he was coming in at dusk or even past, he'd buzz the restaurant, and she'd know it was him, and she'd drive out there and kind of shine her lights down the runway. I mean, I'm sure that it was a little bit more than that, but that's how the story goes. But I've got a interesting side note. So she always wanted a fur coat. And, he didn't have the money for a fur coat. So for years and years, she'd always wanted a fur coat. And at some point, when he was in Tunica, he'd saved up his money and he went to Memphis and bought a fur coat for her. And so, weeks later, when they came back from dusting in Tunica, he flew over the Villa National there, which at that time there was still some clear areas. There was houses, but he flew over and I'm sure he was low and slow. And she came out, and he had that fur coat wrapped up, pretty securely, and he dropped it out of the cockpit down to her down below. So it was a kind of an airmail delivery of a fur coat for my grandma back in the 50s. So it's kind of a funny story.
Something tells me the FAA would frown on that today. But, man, those were the days. A guy loves you a lot if he drops a fur coat out of an airplane for you. That's love right there.
Yeah, no, they definitely had a great relationship for many, many years. And she, like I said, she stood by his side until the very end. And like I said, she's doesn't get a lot of the credit, but she really should. Again, she held these places together while he was away for dusting.
When did your grandparents pass away?
My grandfather died in 1997, and my grandmother was 2004, I'm pretty sure. So,
wow. Okay. She hung in there for a long time then. I showed up in Springfield in 97 at Color 10, and I don't remember that. It could be that it happened before I got here, but I'm sure that was some news because this restaurant had been here for so long. Did your dad take it over after your grandpa?
Yeah, so there was my grandma, retained it until her, and then there were 4 kids. My dad, his brother, and 2 sisters, and they all grew up in the restaurant business and played a role for many, many, many years. Okay. And so we are jumping back in time a little bit. So 62, the Villa National starts, and then a lot of people don't realize, but our second location is the little El Taco over on Kearney Street. And that was about 63 or 64. He bought that and opened up the El Taco. So even though doesn't have the Mexicavilla name on it, it's part of the family and has been there as our second location.
There is a name on there somewhere, isn't it? A little print or something where you can see it's Mexican Villa. Yeah.
Yeah, for years it wasn't on there, and then about, 5 or 6 years ago, I put it on there because I wanted people to know that was part of the Mexicavilla lineage. So.
And it's a great building. It's a lot like the one at National and Bennett. It just has that look about it. It's kind of got that vintage thing going on. It just kind of makes you want to go in there.
It totally does. And Kearney, that portion of Kearney was on old Route 66. So that was part of, it changed over the years a couple of times because I think at one time, actually, early on, National was part of Route 66. So we've got 2 stores that were on at different times, part of old Route 66. But anyway, back on El Taco, it was originally a house, and in fact, there's an upstairs there. There's an upstairs, and if you open the coat closet by the bathrooms, you can see where the stairs were that went upstairs. And we've got the stairs are inside the building now, or inside the backside of the kitchen. But that was a house converted into a diner. Then he bought it in the early '60s, and he wrapped it wrapped it up, and it looks like it does today. But it's a really interesting old building, and it's full of character, just like all of our restaurants. I've tried to kind of tell our history through pictures and decor and stories, and my staff knows a lot of our history. They can engage with guests and tell them the history of this, that, or the other. So it's just such a 74 years is a long time to be in Springfield, and being third generation doing this, I take a lot of pride in carrying on the tradition of Mexican Villa, engaging, talking to our customers. A lot of them have been coming here for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 generations. Sometimes it's you've got if you grew up in Springfield, it was a lot of times it was your first taste of Mexican food, and a lot of times people say, well, it's not authentic or it's not Tex-Mex, and I always just kind of say, well, it's kind of Springfield Mex, and it is. I mean, in the early '50s, it was Hargrave Ferguson's twist on Midwest Mex, whatever you want to call it. But I mean, it was original to Springfield in '51, and we're still here doing it today.
I was going to say, how do you describe the food, the menu here at Mexican Villa?
Well, I would say it's hearty portions, good quality. We cook them from scratch every day. We make our own tortillas. We make our enchilada sauce, spice mix. We make our taco seasoning. Everything's made in house. And again, I talked earlier about the recipes developed in the '50s. We're still using those same ones today. And throughout the year, people say, well, your hot sauce is hotter, or the mild sauce has a little bit more of a bite to it. And using fresh ingredients, I mean, if you're sourcing peppers out of Mexico or California, if they've had a dry season, they're going to be hotter, and so it does have an effect on some of the flavors. That's a good thing. That's just you use natural, fresh ingredients. It's going to vary a little bit, but by and large, it's the same great flavors today as it was in 1951 or 57 or 75 or whenever you've come here. I think we've done a great job of staying true to what who we were, who we are, and who we're going to be, in that same great flavors made that same consistent way from scratch every day, and just giving our customers a great experience every time they come in. We have evolved. We've got some new flavors in the menu that we didn't have before. Over the past couple of years, we've added a very authentic street taco. We've got carne asada as an option now. We've got carnitas as a protein option. We've added kind of a build your own Villa bowl, which basically it's all the ingredients that Mexican Villa has, and you can just kind of pick and choose and do what you want to and put it on a plate together. And the most recent addition has been Mexican Villa margaritas. We added those earlier this year, and that's become very, very popular.
You take care of the food, let us take care of the kitchen. Hi, I'm Nathan with Arctic Food Equipment. Our preventative maintenance program is trusted by local businesses all across Southwest Missouri. From front lobby ice machines to rooftop HVAC and everything in between, we have you covered. Don't let a breakdown slow you down. Call us today at 417-888-0100 and ask about our preventative maintenance program.
At Arctic Food Equipment, your success is our business always.
Okay, funny story, Garin. Years ago, my brother and my dad and my husband and I, we were at one of the Mexican villas, and I think it was over there across from Mercy. And we went in, and we get the chips and the queso and the salsa, and we're living it up. And I said, "Can I see a margarita menu?" And they said, "Oh, we don't have margaritas." And I just kind of stopped and stared like, wait, it's a Mexican restaurant without a margarita? Because I always just thought it was kind of, criminal not to have a margarita at a Mexican restaurant. I mean, it just is one of those things that I love. And I was like, you don't have margaritas? No. And they were so nice, and it was great. But I thought, really? I'm surprised at that. So what turned that around? Thank you, by the way, for turning it around. But what turned it around?
Well, I think that's just kind of been, the evolution of Mexican restaurants in the U.S. And I mean, they've kind of evolved into, it's just expected that, you have a margarita at a Mexican restaurant. And when you started in 1951, I didn't even know if margaritas were a thing in the States in '51. And so for years and years and years, we kind of just had our just Mexican food, and then we did add beer at somewhere along at a certain point along the way, and we've got foreign and domestic beers available, then and now. But we went through the process last year of getting a liquor license, and I challenged my staff. I said, we're going to do these, but they're not going to be a gimmick. They're going to be good quality margaritas at a great price point. And we rolled them out in January, which is probably the worst month of the year to roll out margaritas, but it is what it is.
It's never a bad time.
I guess not.
No.
So anyway, we've got handcrafted house lime and strawberry margaritas, and we've got a spicy version available of each, and they're just really quality. We use Lana Azul tequila, and all my people that I know who are margarita snobs or margarita connoisseurs, I brought them in. I said, now I want you to try these and give me your honest opinion. And by and large, we get really, really good reviews, and people really like them. We also started earlier this year daily specials Monday through Thursday, and I'll tell you about those real quick because they have become very, very popular, and they are really, really good deals. First thing to know is they're all day. It's not just from 4 to 6 or 4 to 7. These are all day deals. Monday is half price margaritas and beer all day. Tuesdays is Taco Tuesdays. We have $2 tacos. And these just aren't your run-of-the-mill tacos. These are good, high-quality, ingredient-packed Mexicanville tacos that you've always loved, and it's the same ones you get. You can get them on Tuesdays for $2. And in addition to that, we do a $2 off our margaritas on Tuesdays. So that's a big deal. Again, it's all day on Tuesdays. Wednesdays is Kids Eat Free Day. Bring your kids in, and the kids' meals are free with an adult entree purchase. So if you've got 2 kids, bring in, get 2 entrees, get 2 free kids' meals. So a great day to bring the kids in. Thursday is Thirsty Thursday. We do $2 off margaritas on Thursday. Again, these are all day. And then for the college students, we do buy one, get one taco baskets. So our taco baskets are a basket of 3 tacos. So you go to Missouri State or Evangel or Drury or BBC or wherever, OTC, bring in your college ID and get buy one, get one taco basket. So you and your friend can come eat a lot of tacos at Mexicanville for really cheap on Thursdays. So those are our daily specials Monday through Thursday.
I'll bet that's a hit. So I feel like I've almost buried the lead here. When you think of Mexican Villa, I think some people go, oh, I absolutely love it. I grew up eating that. I can't get enough. And other people go, wait, there's something quirky about it that I don't understand. And I think it's the sweet sauce, right? You're nodding. Where did that come from, the sweet taco sauce?
Okay, that's an interesting backstory on the sweet sauce. So a lot of people, like you just said, they come in, and I mean, that's the first thing they say. They say, well, what kind of a Mexican restaurant serves a sweet sauce? Yeah. And we say, well, we do, and it's pretty good, and a lot of people like it. Kids absolutely love it, by the way. Kids come in here all the time and they want cheese and chips and sweet sauce. And so, anyway, the backstory in the sweet sauce, that was developed back in the 50s by my grandpa and Mike as our taco sauce. So if you when you get our tacos, there's something different about it, something unique about it. It's because we put that sweet sauces in there. And so for probably 30 to 40 years, that was exclusively only in our tacos. It's the only way you could get it. But over the years, people kind of discovered it, and they'd ask for a side of it, and they wanted to put it on their chips or maybe their enchilada or whatever. And so probably 25 years ago, we just broke down and said, let's just serve it as a dipping sauce for people's chips. And now we serve as much sweet sauce as we do the hot or the mild sauce. It's really, really popular. We sell it in at all of our locations. We sell it off of our website, Mexicanville.net. We ship it out all over the world now because with Missouri State and the colleges here, you've got people that come to school here or live here or whatever, and they'll move away back to who knows where. And we're shipping sauce to California or Oregon or Delaware or China or all over the place. But back to that sweet sauce, it was just strictly as a taco sauce. Same kind of story for the mild sauce. Okay. That was developed back in the 50s as our burrito sauce, and that's kind of the secret ingredient in our burritos and sanchos, the mild sauce. And then people started dipping chips in it and asking for sides of it. So, when you come to our restaurant, we've got the three sauces we offer: the hot, the mild, and the sweet. And that's kind of, is it authentic? No. Is it kind of quirky? Yes. But they're all really, really good. And when we rolled out the street tacos last year, we developed a fourth sauce. It's not, you got to ask for it, but we've got it, and it's we call it the street taco sauce or the boss sauce, and it's got a really great flavor. In fact, I'm going to have you sample some today, but it's kind of the secret sauce right now. We'll probably bottle it at some point, but it's just available in the stores. So come ask for it. It comes with your street tacos, but if you ask for it, we'll give you a side of it. That street taco sauce, or affectionately known in-house as the boss sauce.
Oh, breaking news. Mexican Villa has a secret menu. Okay, you have to know to ask for that unless you get the street tacos. And I'm really eager to try it. Now, so let me tell you this. Will the chef yell at you if I say I want just the regular taco basket, but no sweet sauce? Will I get in trouble for that?
They may look at you funny, but they won't judge you. At least not openly.
I mean, and I'm just being honest, I'm not the biggest sweet sauce person, but I suppose if I had grown up here, maybe I would be like all about the sweet sauce, because I think it depends on what it's fine. It's just, I'm a spicy girl.
Well, Joy, that's why you need to mix the sweet and the hot. And that's what a lot of people do. Everybody's got their own little variations of how they do it. Maybe hot and mild, or sweet and hot, or whatever it may be. Personally, one of my favorite things to do is to take our traditional queso and mix in a couple teaspoons of the hot sauce, and it is absolutely phenomenal. I can sit there with a couple baskets of chips and just go to town on that queso with the hot sauce mixed in. It is so good. But back to the sauces, there's so many variations, and people just love to mix it and match it or whatever, but it's all, no matter what you do, it's good. And back on those tacos, Joy, I'm confident if you give them another try, you don't even know it's there. But yet, people say, well, they're a little bit different. They're just so much better. And there's another aspect to our tacos. The taco meat that we use, the ground beef. When you tip a taco over to the side at Mexican Villa, what falls out? Maybe a little bit of lettuce, maybe a little bit of cheese. You won't see any grease pouring out. And the reason why is because since 1951, we have been boiling our ground beef. We don't fry it, we boil it. When you boil it, all of the fat and grease are boiled off and drained out, and it's very, very lean. And that way, when we mix in all of our spices, or in our proprietary spice blends that we use, you just taste that. And instead of just, a lot of places just, they fry it, and yeah, you yield more, but when you boil it, you just get that great flavor of the spices that we put into it.
It's really good. And it does have a different texture than kind of what you might be used to if you go to like a fast food taco place or something like that. The sweetness, though, correct me if I'm wrong, is there a little element of like a cinnamon in there or a nutmeg or something, or is it my imagination?
Well, Joy, I'd like to tell you, but I just can't. It's still a family secret.
Okay, well, all the super tasters out there, you just tell me what you think it is. When did you get involved? I mean, did you just know, Garin, that you were destined? I mean, my fate is sealed here. I'm going to be in the Mexican restaurant business.
Well, I always talk about this is not for the faint of heart. Restaurants are a tough business, but if you grew up in them like I did, and a lot of people that grow up in them they get it, they understand it. It's hard business if you haven't done it before. But I've literally been in these restaurants since I was born, and I knew that at some point I wanted to do it. I went to Mizzou for college. I did Naval ROTC there. I was in 4 years active after college, and got out of the Navy, and worked in banking for a little while. And I honestly, I'd been, with the Navy and restaurants my whole life. I was always up moving around, and banking was a little more slow paced and behind a desk a lot. And I thought, I got drawn back to the restaurants, and here I am. So we've got, again, 74-year legacy here. And it's, I've got a lot of pride in keeping this going. And again, I think that we can, we've got customers of all ages, both old, young, and everything in between. and trying, getting people to understand that, no, it's maybe not what you expect it to be as far as if you think it's going to be authentic or Tex-Mex or whatever, but you give it a try. Yeah, it's really good. It's really unique. It's full of flavor. It really is. And people say, what's the best thing on the menu? I say, honestly, it's all good. It really is. You can mix and match. You can put sauces on it. You can spice it up. You can make it sweet. You can do whatever you want to do. But it's always going to be fresh. We've got an amazing staff. We've got our tenure of our employees is, if you added it all up, it's hundreds of years. And I'm not kidding. We've got, I think our oldest employee now is at 42 years, and we've got a lot of them that are over 20, some over 30. But we're only as good as our people. We have so many amazing people, both in the front of house, back of house, servers, cashiers, hostesses, cooks, managers, supervisors. Mexicville is full of awesome people. And again, our food is only going to be as good as our people are, and the fact that they've been here for so long, so many of them, gives us that consistency and that stability that we need to keep, 7 days a week churning out great products and a great experience for all of our customers.
It makes me think, if you went to any given high school homecoming game and you stood out on the field and looked up at the stands and said, raise your hand if you ever worked at Mexican Villa, about half the hands would probably go up.
They would. It's, we've had, over the decades, so many people have worked here. Everybody that's from the area, almost everybody has a Villa story. They went on their first date there. They had their first birthday there. They tasted their first Mexican food there. A lot, having a location close to Mercy, it's the first place I went after I got out of the hospital. It's the first place I went after I had my child. It's just, everybody's got a story, and they're funny. They're wild in many cases, but, I never get tired of hearing the wonderful stories from our customers of how they've connected to Mexicville. Maybe they knew my aunt or uncle or mom or dad or grandpa or grandma. There's with 3 generations now, there's a lot of people that know somebody or related to somebody. And it's just a great, Springfield story, Springfield legacy that, doesn't probably get talked about much, but it's really an honor to be a part of it and keep it going for all these years.
How many locations again?
We've got 7 locations, 6 in Springfield and 1 down in Ozark. And then we've got a facility over on West Division where we make all of our tortillas and sauces and spice mixes. And we sell the sauces online, and then in retailers like Price Cutter and Hy-Vee and Apple Markets and Harder House and so on and so forth. And
you got swag. You got a heck of a lot of swag. From hoodies to beanies to Christmas ornaments. That's wild. Do you sell a lot of swag?
We do. We've got, in fact, we've got new T-shirts coming out here in a couple weeks that are going to be great. If you haven't seen our website, I encourage you to go online, Mexicville.net. It's all available on our website, and like Joy said, hats, beanies, ornaments, all kinds of really cool stuff. For those Villa super fans, there's something for everybody. There really is. So I encourage you to go on there. They're also available in all of our restaurants. You can buy them there, but a bigger size selection and inventory is on the website.
Okay, I'm finishing up a chip here. Man, this is good, Garin. Getting back to the menu, I'm just going to mention something, and I want you to tell me how we came about getting that little blessing on our menu, burrito enchilada style.
Well, the burrito enchilada style, that was the first. And, my grandpa and Mike developed it back in the 50s, and that became wildly popular really, really quickly. I don't know, honestly, and I've thought about this a lot. In 1951-52, burritos were very common. Enchiladas were common. I'm not saying in this area, but within Mexican restaurants, and I would assume, they made that enchilada sauce and they covered that burrito with it, called it enchilada style. And I don't know of other places that even today in 2025 that are doing that. There's some copycats out there, but really, it was kind of ahead of its time. And I think back to the fact that, the burrito sauce, or the mild sauce as we call it now. So in the early 50s, my grandpa is like, hey, let's make a sauce just for this burrito. And he did it, and then for decades made it just for those burritos. It was really ahead of its time in many respects.
So it's not just the enchilada sauce; it's its own sauce.
Yeah, the mild sauce, the burrito sauce, it's its own sauce, and developed once again kind of like the taco or the sweet sauce was the taco sauce. The mild sauce was and is the burrito sauce.
So picture this if you haven't had this. And I can remember in the Color 10 newsroom, this was kind of a thing. We're ordering from Mexican Villa. What do you want? Oh, burrito enchilada style. And then the rest of the day, you just want to take a nap. But it's literally like this burrito is like the size of a license plate. And it's smothered in this enchilada sauce that I guess is technically its own sauce and cheese. And it's just this giant, melty, heaven only knows what that thing weighs. I mean, it is a big, big, big thing.
It's a big dish, and you can get it with a side of Mexican rice or refried beans. It's a lot of food. You tack on a taco on the side, and you've got a lot of food. Eat a couple baskets of chips, and you're going to be asleep for you're going to need a siesta when you're done. You really are.
Oh, yeah, and you add a margarita to that, and you might as well just kiss it goodbye for a day or so. People get a taco on the side with that?
You can add a taco and this is all the time, anytime, add a taco for $1.99 to any entree. And I always tell people, they don't want a full basket, but I encourage them, try tacos, so they'll get because you can get a half burrito or Sancho enchilada style, which isn't quite as much. Do that with a taco, and you've got it made in the shade right there. That's as good as it gets.
I do remember in the newsroom people sharing it, because, how could you not? But I do, to this day. And there are people, I'm trying to remember, it might have been Sean Kraft from Nona's. I don't know, but it might have been Sean. I think it's maybe more than one restaurateur chef in this town has said, I say, where do you eat when you're not at your place or you're not cooking? Oh, burrito enchilada style Mexican Villa. It's legendary. It's just legendary. As a matter of fact, there's like a painting of that on the front of this restaurant when you walk in because we're full of murals. Let's talk about the murals, by the way. This place is unbelievable in terms of its decor. A lot of times you go to a Mexican restaurant and it looks really cool. They've got some kind of cool chairs and tables, and they may be kind of a wood carved thing. But this is almost immersive. Everywhere you look, who did your interior?
We've got a company called Imaginational, led by Greg Grace and his family, and they're local. They're on Commercial Street, and they are every one of them they're all amazing artists. And we partnered with Greg and his family probably 8, 10 years ago, and they've done remodels on all the stores. And again, as I said earlier, I want to tell our history through pictures and decor, and I think we've done a really good job of incorporating very, very unique decor alongside, vintage pictures of my grandma and grandpa, or one of the old, the old Mexico on Glenstone Street. And there's hidden stuff, there's like hidden images within the murals and some interesting things to really spend some time with and look at and just kind of take in.
I see a road sign back there that says Garin Avenue, and then I see Betty Lane, Betty being your grandma, correct?
Yes.
What else should we keep our eyes peeled for?
Oh, gosh. Old menus. Everybody's familiar with the jukebox at the National Store. At the South Campbell Store, there is it's kind of an artist's recreation of a jukebox. And look at those song titles. They're really, really funny, and if you're a true Villa fan, you'll read those song titles on that jukebox in the South Campbell Store, and you'll get it. It's one of those things you look at them and you'll chuckle to yourself, say, I get that, I understand that.
There are so many, Springfield is such a wonderful place to live and raise a family, and Mexican Villa is one of those places that's just a mainstay. It's just so much history. You think about that, 74 years. 74 years. That is unbelievable. Is it true, I've heard, but I don't know for sure, is it true that from time to time when Brad Pitt would come to town, he would show up at Mexican Villa?
Well, this is true. I think, in fact, years and years ago, when Brad was kind of on his way up, he did an article or an interview with Rolling Stone magazine, and they asked him what his favorite restaurant was, and he said Mexicavilla. So, and then when he was with Jennifer Aniston, they came into the South Campbell store. So, but you think about Mexicavilla. So we've got the one on National has been there since 1928. You just think the millions of people who have come through these stores over the years. There's no telling who's been in here. Before they were famous or after. I can tell you some that have come after, but we've got the Beach Boys have been here, and just different funny characters of all sorts over the years. But
any other notables you can think? I'm sure Chapel Roan's been in and out of here in her tenure, surely.
Yeah, I'm sure she has, and I'm trying to think. Larry the Cable Guy was here one time, and there's been.
Well, we've got Kathleen Turner, John Goodman, Tess Harper, who I ran into in the hallway the other day at KSMU. I'm sure you've had people through here that have traveled Route 66, which is everybody pretty much have probably made their way inside this restaurant or one of the restaurants. Yeah.
They have, and and that's the beauty of Mexicavilla. It's kind of a melting pot. It really is. You come into Mexicavilla. We've got people of all different backgrounds, and you just come in and everybody's welcome here. We have that's really neat to have a customer base. It's Springfield. We've got everybody here, and we're just proud to be able to keep serving our customers 74 years on. And you can come in at any time, and you may see a neighbor from 20 years ago. You may see your brother, you may see your ex-girlfriend. Who knows? But it's just kind of a melting pot, and we're proud to, again, really proud to be a part of the community, and having done this as long as we have.
With 7 restaurants, Garin, you have to spend a lot of time doing your job, but I want to know more about you, and I want to know what you do when you're not here, and where you eat around the Ozarks when you're not eating here. Care to share?
Sure, yeah. Restaurants are a full-time job and then some. But when I'm not here, my kids play basketball and volleyball, so chase them around and do that. Try to get outside as much as I can, honestly, outside as much as I can. Follow the Chiefs, follow the Cardinals, big sports fan.
What do you eat when you're not eating here?
Honestly, I'll eat... I talked about my grandpa being a foodie. I love to try new restaurants that come into town. I think, Springfield is really unique in that we have so many different restaurants, and there's, new ones come in all the time. And so I kind of like to see what other people are doing. And anytime we go anywhere else, we travel to another place, I always eat local restaurants. I always, want to support local restaurants and eat local restaurants. That's kind of a rule that I follow. So.
Is Mexican food your favorite food?
Yeah, I think by default that it is. Yes, yeah. So, but I love, here locally, Pizza House. Been eating at Pizza House forever, and Stacy and her gang down there, they're great people. Some of the ones are gone that were there for a long time. Restaurants, that is, locally, but there's still a few around.
Man, you've got a lot of people beat with 74 years of keeping this going. And I came in here to talk to you at about 1:30 in the afternoon on a Monday. There were tables full all directions. And that's outstanding. That's kind of unusual, isn't it? Well, not for you, it's not.
Well, again, I think it goes back to giving our customers a great value for their dollar. People work hard for the money. We get that. We've tried to keep our prices very competitive, and I think that they are. They really are. You can still come in here and get an entree for under $10, and you're going to be hard pressed to do that pretty well anywhere. A fast food joint, you're going to be at $13, $14 like that, and you can come in here and get a full service meal with chips and salsa and all the good stuff, and you're not going to leave here hungry. I can promise you that. And if you do, it's of no fault of ours.
When I drove up, I noticed on your sign, Garin, you had something about margaritas to go, which blew my mind. That's amazing, but you have a lot of other things to go too as well. I think you call it the Fiesta Pack.
That's right. The Mexican Villa Fiesta Pack. It's got 36 tacos in it. It's got lots and lots of chips. It's got queso. It's got sides. It's got Mexican rice, beans, our 3 salsas, sour cream. You name it, it's in there. And really, it's $99 to feed 12 to 15 or more of your friends or family. Great for game day or a picnic or family reunions or Little League or just any kind of event that's got, 12 or more people out. You need this Fiesta Pack. Call ahead to any of one of our locations or order online, mexicanville.net. They are customizable, so you can add more queso or add guacamole or whatever you want to do. They're great. $99 for the baseline Fiesta Pack, and it is a winner. Everybody that's tried them loves them. A lot of people are getting them every couple of weeks now. It's just become a big thing, and I think you'll love them.
Garin, one thing people may not know about Mexican Villa, the room we're in, you actually can host meetings and all sorts of events in here, correct?
That's right. South Campbell location, we've got a back room that seats about 40 to 60 people, depending on how you set it up. But great for meetings, for conferences, for business lunches. We've got audio-visual equipment back in here, a big screen. You can do a presentation, and you can enjoy a catered lunch, or we can send servers out, however we can do it. But yeah, South Campbell is available to rent the room back there. It's a really fun room. There's piñatas and very festive. It's just a fun room. A lot of atmosphere in that room. So it is available. Yes.
Well, I'll tell you what. If Brad Pitt is listening, next time you're in town, let me know. I'll meet you out here. We'll do a little podcast and find out where you like to eat besides Mexican Villa, because I will say you're onto something, Brad and family. Garin Ferguson of Mexican Villa. Garin, thanks for spending time with me.
Thank you so much for letting me come on. Again, really happy to share our story. It's a long history in the Springfield, and we're just glad to be a part of the community, and hope you'll come and visit us again. Like Joyce said, if you haven't been in a while, come check us out again. We've got some new things that you may really like and not even know it yet. So come and give us a whirl, give us a try, and I think you'll enjoy it.
Well said. Thank you, sir. Be sure to go to AroundTheOzarks.com to sign up for our daily newsletter, where you can get every episode of Savor the Ozarks, plus all our other podcasts, events, and contests straight to your inbox. And what are your favorite dishes in the 417? You have any restaurants you'd like me to visit? Email me at joy@AroundTheOzarks.com.